Welcome to Saturday's Warrior, proud member, BYU representative of the College Huddle, and we are happy to be here tonight with you to be discussing March Madness. The brackets obviously come out. Everybody's looking at it. That's all anyone's talking about at this point as we start making our picks and getting brackets set up for this week as we all get ready to call in sick on Thursday and Friday, and so we can stay home and watch hoops all day long. I'm already... what was it? I think it was on the what podcast was it? I think it was the Hype Train podcast, and they're just saying, you got to start, put a cough in now a little bit, so they start, kind of planting the seed, and so by Thursday, by the time it rolls around, you're like, oh, I just can't come in. So, so start working on your excuses, funerals, whatever you need to. But yeah, so with me tonight, I've got my buddy Jimmy. We knew each other since high school. We're roommates, oddly enough, only one semester in college, but
really just the one?
Yeah, I know it felt like longer, but then
longer.
Then I took your felt so long. And then I took your spot when you moved out, and so I stayed living with your old roommates, and so I was kind of the new Jimmy for a little bit until I couldn't fill your shoes any longer. But yeah, so Jimmy is, well, I'll let you tell him. Tell us a little bit about your fandom with BYU and where that all began.
Yeah, well, I will say, luckily, we are better at keeping up with BYU sports than we are keeping up with each other. So it's been a little while. Hopefully, you've been good for the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, I grew up. My parents loved BYU. My dad went to BYU. My older brothers, we would go to the church and watch those BYU football games over satellite on the East Coast as much as we could. So breathed it as much as possible, but didn't have a lot of access growing up to it. So once we went to BYU, it was just like this mecca of sports availability, and it was amazing to be able to go to all the games. Fandom just keeps growing from there, and yeah, that's kind of what's kept me connected to the university, and I still bond with my family over BYU sports. So big time BYU sports fan, and it's trickling down the brainwashing to my kids too. They're all in. So it's been fun. We've enjoyed the ride, especially recently. I tell my kids all the time they're pretty lucky and spoiled to be in this era of BYU sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jimmy, I thought you'd be perfect to come on to talk about the brackets and fill a bracket out, because I know, like you said, growing up on the East Coast, there just wasn't a lot of access to BYU sporting events. Heck, when we were at BYU, it was really hard to watch them on TV. We could go to the games, but we couldn't even catch it on the mountain. So
the mountain era.
It was the worst. You're in Provo and you can't find BYU on TV anywhere for those away games. But I remember talking about brackets, filling out and getting your insights way back in high school. And so I thought this would be a lot of fun. I was always jealous of your big family brackets and tournaments that you'd have. And so I don't expect us to have a lot of luck tonight with this bracket. I have no idea. I haven't looked at it yet. So we're going in clean on this pretty much for the most part, other than I think, a little bit of BYU's region. But it'll be fun as we go through it. And we want you guys to join in with us. Let us know your picks, who you think's going to win. We want to get a lot of insight. We're going to kind of crowdsource this and see how this bracket does. And we'll also have I have the link to it in the video below to a group on ESPN. So if you fill out brackets on ESPN, you can join the group, submit your brackets. I think up to 3. I can change it. We can submit however many and get in there, and we'll kind of compare and see how it all goes. And maybe we'll come up with some sort of prize or something to the winning bracket. If nothing else, it'll be bragging rights. So should be a lot of fun. But before we start filling out our bracket, how do you feel first and foremost about BYU's draw?
Oh man. So 352 teams, I think, in college basketball, right? And somehow both my alma maters are playing in the first round. So yeah, I graduated from VCU grad school in physical therapy, but I don't love the first round. So BYU's at 6, VCU that 11. VCU feels like a Duquesne type of team with a little bit more skill, a little bit of crazy, chaotic defense, but they can score a little bit too. So I don't love the first round, but I kind of love the draw after that. I mean, they're playing in Denver. That should be a good home court advantage. They get Wisconsin, who traditionally, in my opinion, doesn't seem to have a lot of success in the NCAA tournament. And then after that, even is probably, in my opinion, the most flawed 2 seed. So there are opportunities in this bracket for success for BYU, but it's that first round game that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, you hit upon a couple things there. Is they got Denver, which is great, which should actually disadvantage VCU in terms of, yes, they have to travel a couple time zones, but it's also the high altitude and not much time to acclimate to. I can speak from experience whenever I go back out west to, go for a run or something like that. And, you do feel it, and so I'm hoping that's an advantage, especially for a team that is a slower pace than BYU. And so BYU, obviously, from what I've seen, the metrics suggest, and we'll pull up some things here in a moment, that VCU is more of a defensive team, which, BYU struggled a little bit in the half court against teams that are physical or more defensive minded. But if BYU is able to get rebounds and then get on the fast break, which is where I think they excel, I think they have a chance to really run VCU down and take advantage and really let their offense get going. I mean, if you could score, 90 points against Arizona and Iowa State and and some of these really good teams, I don't know. I like the potential against VCU, but you're right. It will be a tough matchup. That is a tough first round draw. But the other thing that I like is, as a 6 seed, you are on the other side of the bracket from the 1 seed. So a 5 seed, arguably, you don't get that much better of a draw. You get a 12 seed instead of 11. But you have to face that 1 seed that much sooner. And since they're in Duke's bracket, assuming Cooper Flagg gets healthy, that is a tough draw right there. I mean, all the 1 seeds I think this year are really solid. So there's not really like a 1 seed you want to play, but it feels like Cooper Flagg's Duke is not one that you'd be anxious to see.
I don't think there's any way Cooper Flagg is playing healthy anyway. They're saying he's playing. Maybe it felt a little better. He's excited.
Okay, I just saw this from Gage Bentley.
Vertical landing on one leg and the way that thing moves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume he'll be back. I think I saw that he will, but Gage just informed me that the group I set up is for the women's bracket. You can do that too. That's almost fun because even less about what's going on in women's sports. But I'll try, once we get going here, maybe I'll try and set up the other one and put that in there. Thanks for pointing that out, Gage. So hopefully everyone that'll be updated and everyone can get the right one. But thanks for pointing that out. Let's see. BYU football says this is an awful draw for BYU. Please expound. He says in the top 20 defensively in several parts. That is true. The thing is, and I haven't looked in depth at VCU's schedule from this last year, but I don't think they're playing the same caliber of team. So being top 20 defensively still, like, no matter who you're playing, that suggests that you're a good defensive team. And I don't doubt that they are, but like, what would their defense look like if they had played in, the Big 12 in conference play? Would it still be top 20? Probably not. So I don't know.
It's the same conference as Duquesne last year, and Duquesne's defense looked pretty good in the tournament. I did pull up last night. I pulled up to the defensive efficiency and offensive efficiency metrics, and VCU is 5th in defensive efficiency, at least from yesterday. Even offensively, they're 32. So to be top 35 on both sides of the ball is pretty impressive. It is an unfortunate draw for the first round.
Yeah, especially for a team that was borderline 5th seed, you'd think that they'd get a little bit of the easier, first round play. But let's see. I've got a couple tweets because I got some stats I wanted to get to. But first, there's Colton Potter, producer of BYUSN. He says BYU's last 2 wins in the NCAA tournament happened in Denver in 2011. good vibes going back to the Mile High City. That, I mean, again, it should have, I mean, BYU travels well everywhere, but you'd like to think, especially against a VCU, that there are going to be a lot more BYU fans there, which should be advantageous. However, Cougar Stats says BYU's last 3 appearances were first-round losses to 11 seeds. That is less encouraging. Robbie McComb says BYU is 24 in Ken Palm, VCU is 30. BYU will probably be favored by 1 or 2 points. And I think I saw somewhere that they're actually another one that has a probability of like 48%. So Kelly Ford. Oh, really? Yikes. So it's funny because I thought BYU was going to be like the trendy dark horse pick on a lot of people's brackets, but now they're already not given a great odds here. So Kelly Ford ratings, he did a great job for the playoff and everything. I think now we'll see how he does with basketball. Football's really been where he's focused, but we see BYU here. And this is actually, let's click on this, open it up. So this is BYU's rating. Not bad, but to make it to the second round, 55%. So that's, leaning BYU. Sweet 16, 25. excuse me. And then 10% Elite 8, so it's not great. Like sweet. Actually, let me go back. Jimmy, what is your hope or expectation to feel like BYU lived up to expectations on this season? Like, where do they have to make it in the tournament?
Win 1 game.
I think just one.
To me, it feels like we're building momentum still in the program. You got AJ Devonsa coming in next year. You win 1 game. I think that's a successful season. Honestly, the way that they're playing, 9-game win streak before Houston, I think BYU fans are hopeful that we could get to the Sweet 16. Maybe not expecting it as a 6 seed, but I think a legitimate success is winning 1 game. Do you disagree?
Well, I'd really like to see Sweet 16 with the tear that BYU's been on. But minimum, you got to win at least a game. Give us something. And I really think, before the season, we had, I think, the excitement around Yegor Demon, Cannon Catchings, just Kevin Young in general and what he was doing with the program, bringing guys back was, this team should have the potential to be Sweet 16. And honestly, I think this team is good enough that if they have potential to make a deeper run in the tournament, but certainly not a lock. I mean, this first round isn't even a lock. And that's why going back to the Houston game, which I missed, I had got tickets with some friends to go to Raleigh to see the Canes Red Wings about a month ago when I thought my schedule was free, then not taking into account the Big 12 tournament. And so I was there I caught during intermission parts of the game and stuff, but talking about the Houston game it was maybe good for BYU to okay, we've had a great run. We had some great moments. Now we got to go back to the drawing board, figure some things out, maybe a little bit of humility. They can come into the tournament, maybe a little refocus, and you don't have that mounting pressure of win after win after win. And can we keep going? Now they can just kind of go back, reset, and settle into what they do. I'm hoping, I don't know, maybe that's overthinking it, but I think that could be good for this team in terms of just the mindset coming into the tournament.
You learn more out of losses than you do wins. I just don't know if you learn more out of 20-point losses. I don't know why they're starting off so slow. I mean, probably 4 of the last 5 games, it seems like they're just not clicking offensively. They looked good against Iowa State in the tournament, but I don't know. Is that you need a starting lineup change? What's I don't know what the cause is to the slow starts, but can't do that in the tournament.
No, you can't. And one thing I like is Kevin Young. I think over the course of the season has been more and more. He's ready. He's quicker to pull the trigger and make changes in his lineup and get other guys in there and mix it up. And I mean, if you need to, because actually we have a comment here from BYU football. It says, if BYU can't set the tone offensively and get into a rhythm, I don't think we have enough players that can create their own shots. It's an awful matchup. So yeah, but we don't maybe have enough. There's a lot of guys that's not their thing, but we have great ball movement, although, it's obviously tougher against teams more defensively that can cause turnovers. And I don't know how VCU ranks with turnovers, but I mean, guys like Dawson Baker, he doesn't get a lot of minutes, but lately he's been coming in, and getting some clutch points for us that I'm like, well, maybe, I mean, he's probably a little bit of a liability defensively, but maybe you ride him a little bit longer, or maybe you start with like a Boscovich. I don't know how I guess I need to look into VCU and their bigs, but they've definitely, relied on having him play with, one of their other bigs to really focus on the rebounding and defense. And
VCU is one of those teams with those not huge guys, but those just athletic bigs. But they don't have a lot of paint cloggers.
So I don't know. I think that potentially could be an advantage for BYU. So I don't know. It's a great point. I don't know. Have you watched VCU at all this year?
I watched a little. I watched one game from their tournament from their tournament run. And man, teams always look good when they're winning and when they're playing well. They looked really good in that particular stretch of the game that I watched. But it's just every one of those guys is fast, athletic, and again they were hitting the three in that particular game. So their offense is no slouch either. I do think it is helpful in the tournament to have that guy that can carry you, right? That Caleb Love did it with UNC a couple years ago. Just somebody who can get really hot, and kind of what that comment alluded to. Does BYU really have somebody that could carry an offense in a slump? It's the system that creates shots, and the system has been amazing. But is there a guy that can get hot and carry you? And to me, this is kind of where Cannon Catchings is the kind of guy that if the team's slumping, maybe he can shoot you out of it a little bit. So don't know what his availability is yet. But that is a concern a little.
That's a great point. I assume they've just been trying to rest him and get him as healthy as possible for the tournament. But yeah, I haven't heard anything. We talked about it after the game. He went out on the live show, and someone pointed out that he did make it back to the bench in that game, and he was still dressed out. Obviously not going to play, but so that was a good sign. But yeah, I don't know either. But and maybe we get another Foose game in the tournament. Like, this team has shown that they can score in different, or learn to win in different ways. That, okay, this is going to be. Wasn't that Foose game West Virginia? No.
Yeah, it was West Virginia.
Okay. Yep. I mean, maybe is VCU, are they more like a West Virginia kind of?
Yeah, they're not beefy down low, so that's Foose could potentially have a big game for sure.
So BYU football says again, can't have the slow start. I agree, but I have Houston winning it all also. We'll hold on to that thought about Houston because when we get to the bracket, because I have some questions there. But okay. Couple other things real quick because we're talking about VCU. So he says he has lots of this is getting off topic actually. So he says VCU's nation's top ranked effective field goal percent defense. They're number 23 defensive efficiency, 23 opponent 3-point field goal defense. That's not great because but have they gone up against a team that shoots like BYU though is the other thing. Number 4 and twos and field goal percent defense, number 29 in allowing just 22.6% of opponent points from the free throw line, which is okay if we can't hit free throws anyway. They are 27th in percent of field goals from three. And overall, the strength of schedule was 123. So, I mean, that's not a great strength of schedule there.
No,
which
I think they're let me check here. They're quad one. They were 3-1 in quad one, which is respectable. Not a lot of opportunities. 4-4 in quad two games, which is not good. So their numbers look good. They passed the eye test, but 4-4 in quad two, that's pretty subpar.
I mean, they beat William and Mary by 20, so that's impressive.
Beat Richmond by 41. It's our school.
Jeez. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just not seeing a lot. So what are these quad one? Was it Dayton? I'm trying to.
Yeah, no, that's probably a quad two because that was at home.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm not. a lot
Yeah,
of
quad one would be at New Mexico. That's a good win. Wait, no, that's a loss too, isn't it?
yeah,
Never mind, that's a loss. Colorado State, that would be one. That's a good win. Looks like they won at Dayton. I think what is it? Top 75 is a quad one, so that squeaked into the quad one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, is that? I didn't catch that.
I
Okay,
think that's their
nice.
ranking right there.
Okay, so that's their loss was 1 to Dayton, and they beat Dayton. Both of those close games. So, yeah, Colorado State. Wait. Oh, I'm in the wrong column. I was like, William and Mary's not 46. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So, I mean, it's interesting. Like, it's definitely not a gimme. Jeff Fuller has good location, but tough draw. VCU is strong in the metrics. Again, here's the Ken Palm comparison and other, across the board BPI and so forth. Torvik has a little bit better, but based on a 5 seed disparity, you'd like to see about a 20 spot difference on average. Yeah, that's a good point. It's not so far. So I'm not sure how VCU got bumped down to an 11 seed, but
so I've got a question for you. Are you more confident about BYU as a 6 against Duquesne last year or BYU as a 6 against VCU this year?
That's a great question because I went into Duquesne feeling pretty confident.
Same.
And looking back, I mean, obviously it was bad. It was a false confidence because it was they totally outplayed and they outschemed BYU. Here's my thing. I feel like from what I've seen and what I've read, again, I haven't watched VCU, but I feel like VCU on paper is a better team than last year's Duquesne. So you could say that, but I also think this year's BYU team is better than last year's. And so maybe it's kind of a similar in the sense that both teams are better. I just have a level of confidence with this BYU team that they've figured some things out, the coaching, the ability to play in different styles, rely on different guys, their depth. I think their overall talent is deeper and higher. Like they have more high-end talent on this team as well. So when they are clicking, and last year we knew that BYU would get to the point where they would shoot themselves out of a game. We just didn't think it was going to be Duquesne. And so I don't know. How about you?
I think I agree with that. I think the only reason is because of what happened last year. I think that makes all of us pause a little bit about this year. Same scenario. It's almost like as BYU fans, until we see a win, we're not going to believe it or expect it. But yeah, I just think this team is so much better than last year. I think this team is more matchup proof. Like VCU seems to present problems, but is that any different from what they've already seen in the Big 12? Like they're used to fast guards, chaotic defense, fast pace. So BYU feels more matchup proof, and like you said earlier, they can win in a variety of ways. So I think I'm more confident about this year, but I'm still hesitant. Battered fan syndrome.
It's a good question. Yeah. Let us know in the comments. So we got BYU football, and I saw your other comment, but I want to get to this one first. I feel a lot better because we are deep enough to wear them out and grind to a win. I think they win, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, I think most, like Jimmy just said, BYU fans I think we've learned not to count our eggs before they hatch at this point. Like, let's take it one game at a time and realize that this is a tough draw. But I do think BYU has enough talent, enough scoring, and enough. They just have enough. And I think if they're able to get out and move on this team, that they should be able to score and put up points and wear this team down. And that's my hope and my expectation. But again, it's looking like it is a lot tougher than I think maybe we had hoped for with BYU at this point. So, all right, that was a good question. I'll be thinking about that. Okay, so you also said VCU is in the top 20 creating turnovers, top 10 under the basket, and 23 defending the 3-point shot. BYU is going to have to play very good basketball to win. Yeah, and that's what I love about this last stretch of the grind of the Big 12 is that they had to play really good basketball to win these games. And what's reassuring, it's troublesome, as you mentioned, the slow starts, but it's also reassuring in the sense that despite slow starts, BYU's been able to figure it out. Now, that I still think BYU could potentially have a slow start against VCU and still do enough to win that game. I mean, if you could have 29 turnovers against Iowa State and still beat them at home, I think this team would be able to overcome a slow start against VCU, but that's not going to always be the case, especially as you get deeper and deeper in the tournament. It's that they can't keep doing that. Certainly not the 29 turnovers. I don't think, I would never expect a team to win with that many turnovers, but with slow starts. So hopefully BYU is able to figure that out. But I do look at this, and I still think, despite what we've seen on paper, BYU should be the better team, and they should be able to win this one.
Yeah, I think I think it comes down to Yegor too. I mean, these are the kind of teams that he struggled a little bit with. I didn't love 7 3-pointers against Houston. Like, just play a little bit more in control, keep the turnovers down, attack the basket. That's his strength. And so if he gets a little bit hyped up and sped up, then I'm a little nervous. It seems like Coach Young has been pulling him a little bit more quickly these days, the last few games, but really need Yegor to be in command of the ship.
Yeah, you nailed it there. Is Yegor, because when he's on, like, he elevates the ceiling of this team and is exactly what you need in terms of his passing ability. But when he starts forcing shots, it's not good. And I feel like he shot well. Was it maybe the last couple games leading up to Houston? So I guess Utah and Iowa State, I feel like he shot better. And so you're like, oh, he's getting a shot. But so when he starts feeling that, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to start taking shots. There's a lot of, even when it goes in, I'm like, I don't know. But like you said, if he goes downhill, because he's so good at it, but he draws so much attention, which then again opens up other people, and he has the ability to get them the ball. So either he's taking it to the hoop or he's kicking it out to somebody who can then make the shot. And then I'm okay with him making or taking threes when it's in the flow of the offense. The ball's moving and it ends up in his hands and he takes it in rhythm. I don't like him holding, dribbling, whatever, and jacking up shots.
Turning his back to the basket at half court, like, that's usually a sign that he's nervous, and he's getting sped up, just trying to protect the ball at all costs instead of making a play.
Yeah, when he gets sped up, and I imagine this team will go after Yegor, and so he's got to be able to take care of the ball and don't let people speed him up. And maybe that's where you have maybe somebody else bring up the ball and then just create some action where then you can get Yegor the ball to then see if he can create from there, but not have him bring the ball all the way up, because he does struggle with that. Although Dallin Hall has as well sometimes. So the whole team. But all right, so we've got BYU football says he's awful when he gets suffocated and trap defenses. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, sometimes I wonder. I mean, there's no almost no complaints about this offense, but I do wonder if sometimes you wonder if we could cross half court, get the ball out of his hands quickly, and then run the offense like that. But it seems like we kind of have this developing offense, which is more than I understand, not a coach. But it takes a while for the play to develop long enough for him to get trapped and stuck. Like, let's get the ball out of his hands and get moving a little quicker. But I mean, that's kind of me not really knowing what I'm talking about. But it just seems to get stuck at the beginning of the play.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is we don't know exactly what the team is told by the coaches and what they're trying to be doing. And so it's hard to know why this keeps happening. But I think this coaching staff is smart enough to see that this is happening and to adjust for it. So I hope that they do. Before we're about to get to the bracket now, so anyone that's on, stick around, help us fill out the bracket. But I got one more comment here, and then we'll jump into that. But we got Matthew J. Kipp says, as a Utah fan, congratulations, BYU. I have you guys in the Final Four. Hey, I love it. I hope we do. It would be fantastic. It would. I mean, what a year between football and then making the Final Four would be incredible. Be great to finally break that streak.
I appreciate that comment. We need more comments like that on both sides of the rivalry.
And and for the Big 12 sake, I hope all Big 12 schools do well. Oh, that was my last thing here. There was some complaining about where was it? Just on the committee, getting UNC getting in that last spot, and it said on the latest bracket matrix, one that you go where you could see all the bracketologists and everything they had, it said featuring 111 bracketologists. West Virginia was in all 111. Indiana was in 90. Texas was in 50. Xavier was in 30. UNC was in 27. So it's pretty crazy that UNC snuck in. Obviously, the name brand there had to have played a role. This is the same sort of thing. UNC was 1-12 in quad one games and got in. That win was net 27 UCLA on December 21st. So 0 ACC quad one wins in the ACC's worst year in memory as a league. West Virginia was 6-10 in quad one games. 5 more quad one wins, including wins over Gonzaga, Iowa State, Arizona, and Kansas. So feel like Big 12 got a little shafted there on that. But okay, so here's the bracket. Can I zoom in at all? Okay. So Jimmy, how do you do it? Do you do it by region, by round? Do you just like fill in a certain couple teams that you want to see go all the way, or how do you like to do this?
Well, I do. I typically do the whole region, put down the ones that I am absolutely sure about, and then try to do a little research, go back and forth on some of the other ones. You probably don't want me to ever give my winner on an 8-9 matchup. That's usually a toss-up. I'm pretty sure I'm right about 10% of the time on those. I get those wrong every year. But yeah, typically I identify a team that I really, really like, who I think might go a little bit farther than most people think, and then kind of fill it out from there.
Sorry, I just saw this. Matthew again says West Virginia should have been in. Yeah, absolutely. I think they had toughened up. And what's troublesome is, what were they? So did Big 12 just end up with 7 teams then?
Yeah.
So the thought was, okay, if BYU at the beginning of the season, if BYU could be 8 or 9, they should get in. And the fact that Big 12 only got 7. So if BYU had stayed the course where we kind of thought they were, they would not have gotten into the tournament likely. And because West Virginia's right about where we kind of had just hoped BYU would get to.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's not good for the conference. So hopefully, I mean, Big 12 needs to have a great showing in the tournament overall.
They didn't do well last year. And not a great non-conference. I mean, it's hard to argue too much.
So I like to never make a pick before I have both teams figured out. So if there's one like that I'm sleeping on, sometimes I wait and I move around a little bit. But with this one, I think we just go with our guts, make picks, and move on. Let's start here in let's see. Well, how's Denver in the East region? I still don't understand that aspect of it, but okay.
I think it's just where the Final Four, like to get to the Final Four, is essentially played.
So let's see. BYU, VCU. Who you got in this matchup?
Gotta go BYU.
Yeah, of course. We're picking BYU on this one. Again, there's no gimme. They're going to be some tough matchups there, but I'm going with BYU as well. And since we're here, how about Wisconsin, Montana? I don't know much about Big Sky basketball.
Yeah.
Well, when you have the same record in Big Sky as you do in Big Ten, not that the Big Ten was super great this year. But
yeah, I know less about the Big Ten than I do most of the other conferences. I have to be pretty sure about a 14 beating a 3, and I don't see that happening in this one.
Okay. So yeah, let's go with Wisconsin. This one's not that one's not raising any alarm bells for us. So okay, St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. Ugh, I do not want to pick an SEC team, and I also don't love St. Mary's.
I feel like St. Mary's also underachieves all the time in the NCAA tournament.
That's a good point. Let's see. I mean, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, but lost to Boise State, who's a good team. I don't know. They did beat Utah. I don't know. So good point. So I feel like Yeah, and we want to see the SEC not do well, which
Right.
is unfortunate. But I'm pretty sure we're going with Bama here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-2s are pretty much automatic in the first round. Not that there's never upsets, but
Tell you what, though. So, and Jerem Jordan had some defensive numbers that were a little bit different from me. So I tried to pull this off of, can't remember what website, but for offensive and defensive efficiency for Alabama, they were elite offensively. They were ranked number 9 with the site that I used. It seems like when they were winning 90-80. They played Auburn earlier, and that was a high scoring game. Their defensive efficiency is 149, which is for a top 2 seed is pretty atrocious. So I think they're a very vulnerable team that could be upset. Of any of the 1s and 2s, I think Alabama is the most vulnerable.
Well, so this is an SEC rematch, which the only good thing about that is that it means only one SEC team is going to advance. Beyond that, let's see. They've played before. Ooh. Let's see. This is on Vandy's side. So they got blown out by Alabama. Do they only play once? I don't know. What do you think about? Oh, I don't know. Do we think Vanderbilt can
No.
be upset? No. So you're
I'm not that high on Vanderbilt either. Vanderbilt and St. Mary's, I think, are both just flawed and very beatable.
Okay. Well, let's hope one makes a deep run to us. But you think Bama too. Okay, so let's get up to this other part of the East bracket. I think as much as I want to respect what is it, American and what is that, Montana? No, I don't know what MSM is. I'm gonna go ahead and put Duke there with or without Cooper Flag. All right. How are we feeling about our Big 12 schools? BYU football says I agree on Alabama being flawed. Well, that is good because BYU will. Well, we'll get back to them. Okay, so we got Duke, Mississippi State and Baylor. How are we feeling about them so far? Let's see.
Did you watch that game when Baylor played at the Marriott Center?
Yeah.
I thought they were so impressive, and they were even down a couple guys. And I just remember thinking, man, that BYU had to play their best basketball at home to be able to beat them. They seemed awesome. And then they were kind of ho-hum for the rest of the season. So a little bit of a disappointment. I still kind of think about the potential that I see, and the freshmen are playing like more experienced upperclassmen now, theoretically, by this time of the year. And so Edgecombe is maybe somebody that can take over a game and you can trust. I'm not high on Mississippi State either. I think they're pretty flawed. So again, 8-9, I stink at these. It's a toss up for me. So I might just go, to not pick all SEC teams and I'd probably go Baylor.
Let's go with the Big 12 team. Why not? In an 8-9 toss up, I like it. I want to root for Baylor. I agree with you. The rest of the season, I was always kind of like, oh, I was thinking that was going to be one of our more impressive wins of the season at the time when it happened. And
apparently they finished barely in the top 30, I think is what it is. So they squeaked in as still a quad 1 win for BYU, which is helpful.
That is helpful. Okay. Oregon and Liberty. Liberty Mutual. I don't know much about Liberty. I have to feel like Oregon has got to have the advantage here, but they played at some decent teams. I mean, played Alabama well. I have no idea what Liberty did. I mean, they played K-State close, but K-State.
Here's what I got on Liberty: 0-0 in quad 1. Didn't play a single quad 1 game. 3-2 quad 2. Offensive efficiency 66, defensive 20. Those are decent numbers, but just didn't play any sort of competition. It would, these type of Oregon athletic types. They've got a big center. Biddle, I think is his name. Like they got the height and the speed. I love the 12/5 upset, but I don't particularly see it in this one.
Yeah, 12/5 is I've seen it before, and I think it's the most common seeded upset is the 12 over the 5 seed statistically. So, and I was missing the comments here. Sorry, guys. They agreed with us. Put Baylor in 100%. another one, take Baylor. So we got some Big 12 homers here with us. And Matthew also is saying Oregon on this one. So, okay. So that's who we're doing. We're going to Oregon. Chalk so far.
Kind of a boring section so far.
Yeah. Okay. Arizona and Akron. I don't know much about the Zips.
Yeah. I think their net rating was 91. So how they got a 13 is a little bit confusing to me. 0-1 quad 1, 1-2 quad 2. Doesn't look like they have a great defense. It seems like Arizona would just overwhelm them.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. Sorry, it shows I picked them. I meant to select this thing, so I wasn't selecting them. Yeah, they did not do well in their Ivy League games. In the Ivy League, if they're known for one thing, it is for their basketball. No. Okay. So we're going to Oregon. So this sets up. Now we got some pretty interesting round 2 matchups here, at least in terms of brand name. So, okay, Duke Baylor. Are we still riding our Baylor Bears or Big 12 homers, or should we?
I think that game could be competitive. So here's the thing. I was mentioning with Cooper Flagg. Like, I'm a physical therapist. I see that injury jumping at as high as he could, 40-inch vertical, comes down all of his weight on one foot, and it both points down and kind of inverts at the ankle. It was bad. I saw that and I was wondering about a fracture. There was no fracture, which is good. They're making it sound like he's going to be available, which is heroic, but there is no way it's going to be the same Cooper Flagg as we see in the regular season. So even without him, they still win the ACC tournament. They're obviously still a good team. I just don't think it's quite the same Duke that we could have seen, which is a shame. And Duke, from my numbers, was top 3 in both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're a dangerous team with him, and we saw how dangerous they were without him, which is why I think this team, with or without Cooper Flagg, could still make a deep run. Speaking of that injury, how long would it take after having an injury like that? Would you expect more or less to come back and be at least like close to 100%?
Yeah, well, and that would be one that I'd have to evaluate. And I can't say I see too many, 18-year-olds in peak shape. But I would certainly expect it a couple of weeks. Again, good that he's willing to play with it. If you wrap that thing up and there's almost no movement, then sure, you can play. You're just not going to have that same explosiveness.
Right. And that's the thing is, that might be enough in these first couple rounds, but as they get deeper into the playoffs or in the tournament, you just think about and playing on it. That means you're not allowing it to rest fully. So who knows? Hopefully it gets not that I'm a Duke fan, but you don't want to see teams win or lose based on an injury to a huge star player like that. Like that's not what we want. That's not what.
And this Baylor game would be the second game 2 days later after their first, which their first probably won't take too much effort. But again, later on in the tournament, that ankle could be getting a little sore.
Oh, so here, Matt. Oops, sorry. Matthew's saying Baylor again over Duke. Are we feeling frisky on this?
I don't see it. I would love it. Maybe if they lost in the ACC tournament and they were kind of down on their confidence after losing Cooper Flagg, but they were still plenty successful. Of course, they get to play other ACC teams, but still.
That is true. The ACC's been down, so they've been feeding off of that. I don't know, Matt. We got to get some other people in here. I'll let some other people let us know if you think we can pick Baylor over Duke. I'm liking what BYU football says here with Arizona has a tournament team and they usually don't have bad matchup problems. It's all about how far Love can take them. That's true. If Love is having a good night, I don't know a ton about Oregon, but I feel pretty good about Arizona advancing in this tournament.
Yeah, Arizona can go big. They can go small. I'm surprised that Arizona's defensive numbers aren't as good as they are. I feel like watching them, they seem like a pretty good defensive team. Although BYU put up a bunch on them, so I guess not. But I think I agree with Arizona here. They seem pretty stout.
Okay,
a good matchup in my opinion. Again, they Biddle right there for Oregon is probably their best player, big 7-foot center. Arizona can kind of put another 7-foot center right on him, Vassar, I think. So they seem to have some pieces to match up.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Edgecombe thrives under the spotlight, and it's all about the freshman matchup with Flag.
So are they picking Baylor?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like. Okay, guys, we're gonna pick. We're gonna be homers here, and we're gonna pick Big 12. Why not?
Man.
So that would be nuts if Baylor pulled that off, and I would love it. So
where's that game being played? Probably North Carolina somewhere, Charlotte.
This bracket would. I don't know why they don't. I hate that. Oh, it's in Raleigh. Duke plays the first round. Yeah, I was just at the Canes play on NC State's arena there, and they had March Madness up all over it, and I'm pretty sure it's a first round. So yeah, that's Raleigh right there. Ooh, should I go? No. I don't know what tickets cost. I didn't even think about that. That would be fun. But all right, so we got all Big 12 there. Okay, right here. I think we're all picking BYU still at this point over Wisconsin, right?
I mean, so here's the numbers I have. Again, I really hope these are accurate since I'm stating them. But so Wisconsin was 15 net, 7-7 in quad one. BYU 24 net, 8-7 in quad one. Wisconsin 10-1 quad two, BYU 5-2. But offensively, I got Wisconsin at 18, a better offensive team than usual for Wisconsin. BYU at 17, and then defensively, Wisconsin 89, BYU 86. Like, I mean, that is quite the even matchup right there. Denver, maybe even fans. I'm sure Wisconsin travels pretty well, but you know, altitude may be a little bit of an advantage for BYU there. So I like BYU in that matchup. I mean, look at those numbers.
Yeah.
This is on paper a very even matchup.
Ugh. This is making me feel less great about BYU here in the just making a deeper run, but I'm not going against BYU at this point. Let's see real quick. Baylor could pull it off, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it. Baylor is a dangerous tournament team. Could be.
And if Baylor had any momentum going, then I'd feel better about them. But it's just,
yeah, they've looked kind of pedestrian here near the end. But I appreciate the Ute in the chat going for BYU. So, but now we got to do it, right? So, all right. This is an interesting region here for Elite Eight. We got 3 Big 12 teams and an SEC team. I don't think it'll play out this way, but I would love it if it did.
Our fandom is showing, I think.
Yeah, exactly. All right. BYU, Bama. Can BYU do it?
Here's the thing. Would you rather play a defensive minded team with a subpar offense or an offensive minded team with a subpar defense?
Oh, well, we've played really good defensive teams. Well, although Houston, aside from Houston, who's probably on another level, and we've still been able to put up points. So maybe it would be the defensive team with a subpar offense. But on the other hand, if they're subpar defense, I feel like BYU can just go to town. And if it becomes a shootout, I like BYU in those situations based on what they did at the end of the season.
Yeah, another question could be, would you rather play a 62-60 game or a 94-92 game?
Yeah, I'd rather get up in the 90s.
Yeah, same here, which is why I think it's a pretty decent matchup. Like I feel like BYU teams in the past, they've had multiple games this year where it's almost like you're waiting for BYU's offense to stall in these shootouts, and they don't. I mean, they just keep going and keep going at Arizona, Iowa State, that Baylor game. I mean, they have shown that they can keep up a high, fast-paced, efficient offense, and I think they could do the same thing against Alabama. So would I expect a win against Alabama? Maybe not. Could I see one more so than against other 2 seeds? Yeah.
If we pick Baylor over Duke, I'm definitely picking BYU over Bama.
So
So that's my
It's not.
philosophy. So let's see. By all the way, this is a better matchup than VCU by a long shot.
Yeah.
And BYU has the better team. I like to think so, but I don't actually know. And if BYU can play good defense, they beat Alabama. It's 50-50 if it's a shooting match. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks like a lot of shooting power there. So I like. That was Sweet 16. I think. I like that game for BYU. I really do think it's not unrealistic to think that BYU can make it to the Elite Eight. I'm not saying they should or they will, but BYU definitely has the ability to get there. All right, Baylor, Arizona. Who wins that one? Let's see. I think Baylor won one during the regular season, didn't they? They lost. Oh no, they lost twice to Arizona. But
yeah, Arizona all the way.
I mean, they just beat Duke. You're not feeling like there's momentum there.
I'm not going to put my name on that Duke pick personally. But,
yeah. Okay. So even Matt, who helped us pick Baylor in that upset over Duke, is saying Arizona. So let's see. I don't know about Baylor guys, but it could easily happen if they get hot. Yeah, I do think Baylor has the coaching, has the pedigree there, has a lot of very talented players.
Hey, they've got a Duke guard, right? I think Roach is a transfer from Duke, so maybe a little inside information there.
I like it. Okay, so if we saw a rematch here between BYU and Arizona, I mean, those were two good games in the regular season. Who wins?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we need to show a little bit of professionalism here. Not just pick BYU in the Final Four.
Why are we doing this if not to pick BYU?
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I think BYU is playing better down the stretch, but actually,
that would all come down to Caleb Love. He could absolutely be a problem for BYU if he's not hitting, which for whatever reason against BYU he seems like he is. If he's not hitting, then I like our chances. But he's definitely someone who could go off and carry him.
Even the Utes gotten off the BYU bandwagon on this one. And it says Arizona beats Duke, in my opinion. So
that I could see.
That would be a lot of fun. I'm going to root for Big 12 guys all the way, because not only is it like you want to see the conference do well, I mean, each round, the way it works is you get more money. It is paid out by the farther you go, and that gets divided amongst the conference. So any Big 12 team winning any games is more payout that goes into BYU's pocket. But yeah, it is really about brand as well. You want the conference to do well. So, okay, we're picking Zona here. As much as it pains me for my Cougs, but hey, if BYU made this run and you lose to Arizona at that point, yeah, I mean, you're disappointed, but you go home happy. Like, hey,
can you imagine Elite Eight with AJ Devonsa coming in? Who knows what kind of transfers you could get with that kind of momentum? Like that would be amazing.
Yeah, and it's crazy that like just making it to the Sweet 16, I think BYU fans would be like, it's all chalk from here, or like, or it's all gravy on top. Like anything, like you get to Sweet 16, we're just happy, after our luck. Okay, so let's see which region we go to next. Should we just go across here to the south?
Sure.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to think too much about this. Let's see. Okay, another 8-9, and you said you're terrible at these. Creighton had a disappointing loss there at the end, whereas Louisville was hot. I don't know.
Louisville went 17-2 in the ACC. That's getting an 8 seed seems a little low. I'm not gonna lie. And somehow Clemson got a 5.
Conference was so down, but yet UNC still got in. So yeah, that's crazy to me.
Maybe they didn't have any elite wins. I don't know, but I was surprised to see Louisville on 8.
I mean, 2 good showing. Well, who knows at the end of the game, what really happened there. That could have been closer and then free throws, or it could have been, I don't know. But yeah, I like Louisville there. Although, yeah. And let's see. Michigan is on a tear right now. How do you like them versus San Diego?
Oh,
UC. Sorry.
you might know Michigan better than me. Michigan looks like 5-12 against quad one. That's not elite. How does that get you a 5 seed?
They won the Big Ten. I don't know.
UC San Diego. So interesting team. 2-1 in quad one, 1-1 quad two. Offensive efficiency 19, defensive 4. Again, poor competition, so it's going to make them look a little bit better. But that's a pretty solid team. That's a 12/5 that I could see happening.
Good, because I accidentally just selected them. So yeah, I mean their schedule, it's so hard to tell because they just really didn't play anyone. They played San Diego State and played them tough. Michigan's been hot, but they've also underperformed, I feel like, in the tournament as of late.
They just won the they just won the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah. So they're hot right now. But
yeah.
Matthew's saying
I could see UC San Diego winning. I'm not sure if I'd be confident enough to say they would win. I do like teams that are streaking and that are playing well at the right time. So,
all right,
I agree with Matthew there.
Okay, I'll go with you guys. I was getting excited because I'm tired of. I mean, I guess Baylor made a little bit of, and BYU here made some noise, but all right, Yale over A&M. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not real high on A&M.
The spread is not as high as I would have expected.
A&M's offensive efficiency 128, 7-9 in quad one. Yeah,
Let's do it.
I don't know much about Yale here. Let's see. 0-1, quad one, 2-1. Their net is 72. Those Ivy League schools, man, in the NCAA tournament, they are. You don't want to play them.
Yeah, Matthew,
for the sake of the upset.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go with Yale. Plus, oftentimes I have BYU gear on, and people ask me if it's Yale, and I should just tell them yes, because then I'll sound smarter. But so let's go with it, because then it looks like you got another BYU on here.
That's reason enough.
Yeah. So let's do it. All right. Ole Miss versus San Diego State or UNC. I mean, that feels like a tough draw for Ole Miss right there, whoever they get.
Well, yeah. I mean, so UNC shouldn't be in the tournament. I still wouldn't want to play them. Like, I think they were on quite the win streak. They lost by 3 to Duke. I think they played Duke tough before that. Like, they seem to be playing better. I hate to be the 6th seed. I'm glad that BYU is not the 6th seed playing a play-in team, because it seems like they get that one game under their belt, and it feels like there's an advantage there. I don't know what the figures or the numbers show historically, but I like UNC over San Diego State, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Ole Miss stumble. I mean, Ole Miss has a bunch of seniors. They finish games pretty well, but I could see UNC winning. They've got something to prove.
Let's call the upset. And that's the other thing is, like, not only that, like, we can't finish our brackets until we know that really. But let's do it. I like it. Yeah, I mean, BYU knows all too well what it's like to play a play-in team. So, of course, that team made it to the Final Four. So I guess
that should not have been an 11 seed. UCLA
victory there. But let's see. Sorry, I'm missing some of these a little late. So I don't like A&M either. How is Yale? Don't know, but we're going with them. So
I assume backdoor cuts and 3-pointers.
I like to see SDSU. I would rather them beat both those teams, UNC and Ole Miss, but we'll see. Either way,
San Diego State's offensive efficiency 218. That is horrific. I mean, always a top defensive team, but I don't think the offense can match this year.
Well, defense wins championships, Jimmy. Okay.
If you have at least average offense.
All right. Lipscomb. I think the Cyclones are in for a world of hurt. No. I'm just going to – let's not even waste time. I'm going with Iowa State. I think they're a very good team.
They are a good team. Do we know any health updates on their 2 guards? I mean, that's going to be a big part of that.
Well, actually – what's his name now? It's Lipsy, right? Now I'm
Yeah.
confused. Lipscomb has got me
Yeah. Lipsy.
jumbled, but Lipsy, I think he was cleared to play in that last game. I think they're just being precautious because really, why?
I guess. I mean, again, it was a groin pull. Those soft tissue injuries, they linger and they take a long time to fully heal and recover. So I don't think it's something, if you truly pulled it, I don't think it's something that's going to be all of a sudden better next week.
Quit using science and facts here. This is all about gut instinct, okay? All right, so we got Matthew behind us. BYU football saying Aztecs in this one. Ooh, are you saying having them beat Iowa State in this, to be clear? That would be quite the. Let's come back to this one in a second. All right, Marquette, New Mexico. Who you got? Or what are you thinking here? I'm surprised New Mexico's a 10 seed. I thought they were hot earlier in the season. Let's see. What has Marquette done? What do you got for us on stats here? Ooh, that is a bad run for Marquette. Lots of losses against any quality team. Why are they the higher seed? New Mexico. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I just had some technical difficulties or if you did, but I'm on. What are we on right now?
Oh, sorry. Maybe we got Marquette and New Mexico, and it doesn't look like Marquette's played anyone tough.
Yeah.
Let's see. Matthew saying Marquette and BYU football said I'm lost. Sorry, I've lost you here. Maybe seems like we're all a little lost. Let's all catch up. So Marquette, New Mexico. Let us know on that one. I got another comment here from Pacer Stink. Hey, I like that name. Auburn lost 3 of their last 4 games. In what world are they the number 1 overall seed? That is a good question.
Well, we'll get to Auburn here in a sec, right? But yeah. I personally like New Mexico over Marquette. I think they've got a stud that they can lean on, but I can't say I know a ton either way about those two teams.
Okay, we had 2 votes for Marquette, and now we've got Marquette can't score to save their lives. So let's see. I would lean New Mexico, but that could just be bias here. But I just looked at this, like Marquette just had nobody, like no win. Any of their noteworthy games other than Purdue were all losses. And we talk about it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. I just think back to church ball back in high school, man, playing our rival in your ward there, and our coach always reminded us, hey, yeah, sure, you beat them every time, but it's hard to beat them 3 times. And he said, it's hard to beat them 4 times. And every time we beat you, he'd just come back, and it was always hard. No, I think you guys got us in there at once, maybe.
I don't think we did actually, but thanks for putting that out there.
Well, it wasn't for you if it wasn't because of you if you never did, because
good times.
Yeah, and if we won, it certainly wasn't because of me. So anyway, but it's also hard to lose to a team you think 3 times. So I don't know. My gut says says New Mexico, but it looks like we're getting some votes for Marquette. So where did you come down on that?
Well, I was thinking New Mexico. Their offensive efficiency is only 127. That's not great. Where's the game played? Maybe we can go.
I don't know. You have that up on another one. I should have another window here with that, because I don't know. But we did have a change of vote to New Mexico, so now we're all in agreement. But we can move on.
Yeah.
On this one,
Milwaukee, honestly.
It's in Milwaukee?
No, Cleveland. It's in Cleveland.
Oh, but still, you're going to get way more Marquette fans there. But I don't know. I'm going with the 10-7 upset. Let's do Michigan State here. Let's not take too much time. Let's speed this up a little bit. Since we're on these 2 teams, let's continue here instead of going back up. New Mexico versus Michigan State. We were kind of iffy on them at that point. I think Michigan State. I think they're beatable. They're definitely not like world beaters, but they're also very good.
I've gone against Tom Izzo in these picks way too many times. He's got March figured out.
Okay. So we like what he's doing in March. Don't go against Tom Izzo. That is good philosophy to live by. All right. How about in this round here? Yeah, I got a vote here for Michigan State as well. I think that one's easy. I'm
I like
still
Iowa
feeling.
State there.
Yeah, me too. I like them making at least Sweet 16. I feel like they're a Sweet 16 team. Let's get the other two here. Auburn. Okay, so what was that comment about Auburn? Let's come back to this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, number 1 seed overall. I mean, Auburn. You're right. They didn't end strong, but they also might have been thinking tournament and big picture. And then you have Louisville, who was kind of hot at the end there. Do you think they can continue that?
Yeah, I think Auburn still takes them. I agree though. I mean, they still have 16 quad one wins. I think that's like a record. So I don't have any problem with them still being number 1 overall. But I think they're trending in the wrong direction. So I don't think they're necessarily national championship favorites by any means.
Yeah. So I mean
those are good teams.
Yeah, those are good teams, and they're not bad like losses. But okay, let's go with Auburn. They're not flaming out too early. Michigan, Yale. I mean, I do think Ivy League teams are frisky. They've often had some upsets, but I also don't know if I've seen them make deep runs either. They're usually kind of those surprise teams. So let's see. Oh yeah, we had 2 votes. Sorry guys, I keep missing you. We had votes for Michigan State. We had a vote for Louisville over Auburn. I don't know if I'm quite that bold.
I think Matthew likes a little chaos in his bracket.
Yeah, I love it. I love the chaos here. We see Auburn peaked too early and are trending down. Yeah, so I don't know if I have them making a deep run. I think the number 1 seed overall was more about region. I think ultimately Auburn, because where's that South region? But Duke would make sense in the East. And then who else did you have? Oh, and I don't think Florida or Houston were considered. I really think it was between Auburn and Duke. And so I think this way you get them in the South, Duke at the East, and it worked out. So I really feel like that had an impact there. Okay, Michigan, Yale. What are we thinking here on this one? We got vote for Michigan. Let's see. Auburn wins, but will beat Louisville. Yeah, we have them beating Louisville. And then there was another comment here about Marquette. We've moved on from them. It says Marquette only a 3.5 favorite. Yeah. Surprised they're a favorite at all, honestly. Just looking at the limited stats that I had and not really knowing anything about the teams. Okay. So do we think Auburn's run ends there against Michigan?
I think Auburn still beats Michigan.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have tons of faith in Michigan.
I mean, Auburn was a historic team before the last 4 games. Like they were unbelievable the season that they had. So they might have peaked already, but still a pretty stinking good team.
Okay, said yep. I'm gonna assume that was to that comment right there, and we actually have a vote for Michigan. But I think on this one, I'm feeling Auburn on that one, but I think that's probably as far as Auburn will make it. Also, I don't want to have the potential of an all Big Ten Sweet 16 here. So, although Michigan State in the Sweet 16 would be fun. Fun to get a rivalry game there. So, how about this one? This would actually be a really good matchup here.
Yeah, and if Iowa State were fully healthy, I'd feel pretty good about that one. But Gilbert is a big part of that team. Again, I think Lipsey's still going to be hobbled. So I'm probably thinking Michigan State.
Ooh, Michigan State, huh? You're in with Izzo. Okay.
Izzo, man.
Auburn beats Michigan. Okay, so there we had support there on Auburn beating Michigan. All right. Okay.
Well, you're the Michigan guy.
Yeah. I just don't like the Big Ten anymore. So my Michigan fandom is waning. I don't know. It was always more of like outside. I don't follow Michigan closely, but I root for them, if that makes sense. So I'm not when I was younger, obviously I followed more closely. I could tell you all the players and what's going on with the team. I can't anymore. So no, I don't think. I do think this is a flawed Michigan team as well. They've struggled times this season. Not that I've really watched very much at all, but I like Iowa State. But okay, I'll go with you. That does feel like a really close one. Could go either way.
It's the
And
injuries. It's the only reason for me.
yeah,
I mean, they were playing a walk-on against BYU, like heavy minutes, and he looked like a walk-on.
oh. So all right, Auburn, Michigan State. You got Tom Izzo versus we think a team that's trending down. What are we thinking here? Okay. Pacer Stink says, first off, Michigan ain't beating UC San Diego. Michigan is only 2.5 favorite. And that UC San Diego is legit. Oh,
I would love to see that.
You know, like I said, grew up rooting for Michigan, but I always love seeing upsets. So that would be cool. Except for when it happens to BYU. That's not cool. But
UC San Diego feels like one of those upsets that everybody picks that doesn't happen. But
oh yeah. Yeah. I've had years where, I think I picked 2 12-5 upsets and both of them were wrong, and it was the other 2 12-5 matchups that were the upsets. It feels like that happens all the time. You'd think like statistically I would have at least gotten one of those right, but all right.
I like Michigan State here. I think they only had 3 losses in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten was a solid and deep conference, maybe not super top heavy, but they've got some weapons, and man, those guys always go after the boards. So.
Okay, let's do it. Michigan State punching their ticket to the Final Four. All right, let's just stay here on the left side. Let's go with the West. Florida over Norfolk State. Hey, love to see that. Not happening, I don't think. So
I'm a little bullish on Florida. Of all the SEC teams, I want the SEC to lose. I think they've gotten a little bit too much credibility, but Florida, I think Florida's good.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of upsets this year, in my opinion. I hope so. It does kind of feel like one of those years, but it also feels like one of those years, like the number 1 seeds are so good that there might be tons of upsets, and you could still end up with like a all 1 seed Final Four, like something crazy.
Yeah, I agree. This year seems pretty top heavy, and those top teams are pretty good. I love it when it's chaos, but it's not
all sorts of chaos. But then at the end of the day, it won't matter because you still end up with some top teams at the Final Four. Is what it feels like to me.
Hey, but we don't have any number 1 seeds advancing yet, so
that's true. Although 2 seed, it wouldn't be too much. Although over the top seed overall is impressive. Okay. UConn, Oklahoma. I just can't, if we're going to put it up, I mean, I know UConn, with Hurley, people aren't a big fan, but I just can't put another SEC team. So we're just going to, I didn't see any votes in there. He says, agree with BYU football. I'm trying to think what we just said but thank you. I agree with BYU football as well. All right. So yeah, I'm going with UConn just because it feels like a toss up. And then also you go with, hey, a lot of these guys we're on really good championship teams. They know how to play. They're ready for March. And Oklahoma was a bubble team, so I'm going to go with UConn here. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm not contributing to an 8-9.
Okay. So now, all right. Any of these other ones, Memphis, Colorado State, how are you feeling there?
I can see Colorado State winning that one. I think apparently Memphis is down a good player, top player, so that can play into it. But Colorado State's been hot.
Okay, I love it. Let's do Colorado State. Let's go with it. I just wanted to see real quick who they played. I mean, mostly Mountain West, but got shellacked by Ole Miss. But that was early in the season. Let's go with Colorado State. I know they had some good moments this year. All right, Maryland versus Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, apparently their women's team is really good. I even saw some, I don't know if it's true or not. It might have just been wishful thinking or something that potentially their head coach is in the short list for BYU women's head coach, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. That's on the women's side though. So okay, Maryland and Grand Canyon. How are we feeling?
Maryland's the only other Big Ten team that I really like. They had some heartbreaking close losses. I think they're top 25 in offense and defensive efficiency. They seem pretty solid.
Oh, sorry. I think some of these comments come in a little late. I don't know if there's a delay or what, but we had UConn should be an NIT team, and we had Memphis in the buzzer beater. So over Colorado State. So we got two disagreeing with us, but I'm not. Yeah, in the toss up, I'm okay with that one. Colorado State. I feel good about the upset there. We're going Maryland here.
I kind of like Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, Maryland. I'm good with that. All right. Mizzou and Drake. What didn't Drake on a little bit of a tear here at the end?
Yeah. No, Drake is net 56, 2-0 in quad one, 4-0 in quad two, which means they had 3 quad 3 losses, which is pretty terrible. But they seem pretty solid. 43 offensive, 26 defensive. That's a team I did not want BYU drawing as a 6-11.
Yeah. Well, here's my thing. Most importantly, Mizzou only beat Kansas by 9 points. I mean, come on. If you can't beat Kansas by at least 30 points.
You know what? I think as BYU fans, we're a little bit more down on Kansas than maybe we should. I think we see them as just one of the worst tournament teams in history. But
all right, here. Let's see. We saw Drake, and I agree. So, we had another one. Watch out for Memphis. That team is all heart, and they play so hard every year. So,
they do. I just feel like they can't ever shoot.
I don't have an opinion. I don't know about Memphis. Let's see. So let's go with Drake. Let's go with the hot pick. I'm good with that. All right, Texas Tech. Are we gonna go Big 12 homers again, or are we calling potential upset?
Tech is good.
Tech is really good, especially topping if he's going. I like Tech there. Let's not spend too much on that one. Oh, okay. Speaking of Kansas, the worst tournament team ever. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying about Kansas?
Arkansas by 30.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, this team has looked very beatable. Not that they're not good. They have talent and they can win, but it depends on how they match up. Does Arkansas have any kind of outside shooting?
I'm not. Let me see on Arkansas. 123 on offense, 61 on defense. Neither one of those are all that good. 5 and 10 quad one.
They defend the 3 well. It's okay. Kansas can't shoot the 3.
Kansas 115 offense, 30 defense. Man, they'd probably be top 20 if they didn't play BYU. That defense against BYU looked horrendous. I mean, I think they just broke them that game. I don't know what that was about, but
they figured something out. It could have been a matchup thing. Coach Cal always comes up short, I feel like, in the tournament. He gets a bunch of talent and never really wins just on sheer force, but doesn't necessarily, I don't know.
Well, we picked a Big 12 team to win every single first round game. If there's a team that's going to lose, it's going to be Kansas.
It's true. Maryland is too up and down. Can't trust them. That's good feedback. That's the border war guys. Different basketball.
Yeah. The battle for Kansas City.
Oh, so he's saying set up a Sweet 16. Well, that would be fun. He thinks Kansas wins this game easily. This is the most condemning thing. Our Ute fan says KU lost to us, so it's a pretty valid point and self-aware. So
I just feel like Kansas at the beginning of the year, they beat Duke. They're beating good teams, and it's almost like as the season progresses, they started to realize that maybe they're not as good as they thought they were too, and it's gone downhill from there. Who's their best win in the last 2 months? I mean, it's nobody great.
Yeah, I'm not feeling great about that. I hope they win.
Any game of NCAA tournament history, that's pretty good.
I mean, it really feels like, Kansas is always going to get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know how they ended up seated where they are, which is crazy. It feels like
that Duke win carried them.
It was so early in the season, though. I don't know. And I mean, Cooper Flagg was still 17 then, wasn't he? For heaven's sake. And then, but I don't know if I believe in this Coach Cal team either. But we're gonna call. Can both teams lose the game? I'd be okay with that. But no, I'm going for at least a Big Ten team here. Or I'd like to. Sorry, I'd like to go for a Big 12 team here, but I do think I don't know. I could see Kansas being upset, so I'm good going either way on this.
Yeah, it's again, we're showing our impartiality here by going.
Well, we had 2 votes. One saying Kansas wins easily, and then I think that was saying guys KU lost to Utah. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a toss up for me.
I think we all agree that neither one of us are that high on either of these teams here. They're flawed.
I should have brought an actual coin to flip here, but can both teams lose? Okay, Kansas has figured out who they are now. It's been a struggle this year for them realizing that. Sorry, I didn't pull it up. And to Utah, yeah, they lost to Utah. So let me see real quick. How did they? Oops, I selected them. I did the wrong thing there again. So they did beat. I mean,
they beat Arizona home.
It's better than BYU. They're showing. That's also a tough loss there. They did. I did watch some of those games there down the stretch, and then Arizona. I don't know. I accidentally clicked Kansas. I didn't mean to do that, but I don't know. Are we okay?
Sounds good.
Fine, that's fine. Either way, let's go with St. John's because nobody felt
basketball gods have spoken. I think.
Yeah, what a head coaching matchup. Either way, whoever plays at St. John's, they're going to talk. They're going to get lots of talking points out of that one. But I'm just going to do St. John's since no one felt good about either one of those. I know Drake is hot right now. Without even looking at stats and stuff, I just really like Tech to make a deep run. I think they're a scary team.
Yeah.
Okay. We had the comment that UConn was a NIT team. That's true. I mean, they really did not look that great. It's amazing that they're an 8 seed. They must have had a few quality wins in there, but I think we're going with Florida. Very solid team.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of we had a vote against Maryland earlier, but they also thought Memphis should be here. So how are we feeling on this one?
Hey, we could throw a 12 into the Sweet 16.
All right, let's do it. If we're gonna have an upset somewhere, I like it over a Big 10 team. So,
of course, Mountain West teams never do all that great, but
it makes me think. What's his face that coach at Colorado State and then at Florida and didn't last long? That's what it makes me think of. McIntyre, is that his name?
I don't remember.
Yeah. All right. It said MST was that lost to Utah. That wasn't Michigan State, was it? Are you saying did Utah play Michigan State and beat them?
I don't think so.
No, what is MST? I'm looking here. Who else were we talking about?
Mississippi State?
Who did Utah play? Let me do this. Probably the quickest way I can pull up their schedule here.
Mississippi State.
I did miss that. Oh, okay, then. Oops. Now my computer's going slow. All right. Too many tabs here. All right. So in this one, okay. Do we think their Magic can keep them going past Florida?
Nah. Florida's another top 20.
The whole committee needs to go to prison for making Wisconsin a 3 seed. It's making me feel better about BYU if they go up against them. So, all right. So let's go with Florida here and Tech St. John's. I mean, St. John's is really good from what I've heard about them this year. Rick Pitino squad may boast the best defense in the country. I mean, Tech went up and beat Houston, so
I mean, yeah, St. John's 5-4 in quad one. I mean, that's not elite. And I don't think those quad one games were against like top teams.
No, let's see. Oh.
Texas Tech 9-5 in quad one. I mean, this whole bracket has been way too high on the Big 12.
Yeah,
considering Big 12's performance last year, but
except on my personal bracket, I think I will actually have Tech is one of them that I think I will.
Yeah, I can see Tech. I can see Tech
Let's
winning
go with
this
St.
game.
John's. I think that's fair. I don't know.
That one's the classic offense against defense. So
said, I'm sorry, I put Michigan State, but I said I was. Oh, he meant K-State. Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. To clarify, in Salt Lake. So yeah, it's true. Both of those were in Salt Lake. A lot of teams struggled on that Utah trip when they played both BYU and Utah. There were several teams that came away from there with 2 losses, which is crazy. Good advantage there. All right. So, wait, we still need to pick our final 4 from this region here. I kind of like St. John's.
Wait, so you did pick St. John's over Tech? All right.
Yeah, I in my personal bracket, I'll probably have Tech at that point. I haven't filled it out yet. I don't know, but
I probably will too.
I think that is a tournament team meant to, that has potential to do stuff, probably more so than some of these other Big 12 teams that we've already selected. Yeah. Let's see. It says the Big 12 is going to show well in the tournament this year. I hope so, because last year was pathetic. But
I hope so too. I just don't know if they'll have half the Elite 8 teams.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Obviously, the more teams you get, the greater your odds are. And that's the problem, is that now we're only down to 7. What did we have last year? 9. So I don't know. What did the stats say on these two? This would be a great matchup. St. John's, that's the thing. They just haven't, these wins don't impress me much.
Yeah, I don't think St. John's has the offense to keep up with. I don't think they have the offense to keep up with Tech, but definitely not with Florida.
Okay. Ugh. I know your family went to Florida, whatever, blah, 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 but that's fine. All right. So let's go ahead and just pick the 1 seed here. And now, I mean, it's not UVA, so I feel good about them winning that first round.
Gonzaga is interesting. They are 8th in the net and yet getting 8 seed. So clearly the net is also a flawed ranking at times, because I think Gonzaga probably got about what they deserved. But how did they get an 8 in the net?
I picked the Bulldogs in this one.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs will win.
Yeah. I just got that joke.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to catch up. And everybody else saw you just get there too. So, no, I don't know. I don't think this is I mean, again, it's Mark Few. He knows. I don't know. He's been to the tournament. I mean, these are some respectable games that they've played, and that's something that Gonzaga does well. Is they schedule really well out of conference.
What is it? 9 straight Sweet 16s for Gonzaga. That's
yeah, they could. I mean, look at this. Georgia gets the benefit of the doubt because they like, oh, but it's a quad 1 loss, which
but
that's a lot of quad 1 loss. It's at some point it starts because it's the same thing that the SEC was complaining about last year against the Big 12, as they get the benefit of the doubt because they don't play anyone. Well, not saying that you know what I'm saying.
And look at those losses. Some of those aren't even close. There's a 30-point loss. I mean, the committee loves losses to good teams, which is why UNC is apparently in the field, which is why BYU got docked for not playing anybody in the non-conference. So these fringe SEC teams like Oklahoma and Georgia that just have a million quad 1 losses, they don't move the needle for me.
Gonzaga is scary number 8. And let's see, Big East teams are all question marks. None of them had a tough schedule. Yeah, that's true. You don't really know a lot about them. But yeah, they're not Big East. I think that was to our other comment, but the same thing kind of with Gonzaga is, play a lot of nobody, but they actually had a good out of conference. Of course, a lot of basketball has been played since then.
Those are competitive losses right there. I mean, Yeah, I like
it
them.
better than like what Georgia's showing here. I mean, that's a lot of red. So, oops. um, yeah. So I like that one better. Ooh, McNeese. I love it because that's like that was like our go-to in high school when we were like picking like random names of schools. Like, who do they play? What, like Big McNeese? And so Chattanooga State. So yeah, McNeese. I love that they're here. But again, Clemson. I don't think the ACC was much to write home about this year, but I know even less about McNeese basketball.
It looks like McNeese is one of those teams that have good metrics, but at the end of the day, haven't beat anybody. They have one quad 2 win and 0 quad 1 wins.
These are all good games. I mean, you look at this with Kentucky. Memphis was a close lot. All their, I mean, their good wins are usually close. I love how UNC is being considered a good win, especially it wasn't even UNC at the end of the season. So when they're on their tear, so whatever.
Clemson beat Duke. Apparently, that gives you 3 extra seed lines if you beat Duke. But
again, we're not getting into much here on terms of statistics or how this team plays. I don't know, but that's a pretty impressive.
I feel like Clemson would be a upset alert kind of team, but McNeese doesn't do it for me personally.
Yeah, I feel like there's other probably 12 seeds. Like if they were going up against Colorado State or something, I feel like there's other 12 seeds there. Oh, sorry, I should look at the comment here. McNeese is the one who beat BYU last year. No, that was Duquesne. But thank goodness, not Duquesne again. Okay, let's see. Only reason Gonzaga is in because they won the stupid WCC. They're an NIT team. If they don't get the auto bid, probably true, but that's because their conference was down. I still liked what they did out of conference. I don't know. It's an 8-9. I feel like toss up on that one. This one, okay. You think they're beatable, but maybe McNeese isn't this place. Let's go ahead and pick Clemson and move on from this one because I don't know. Purdue and High Point. I honestly have never heard of High Point, so that doesn't mean they can't win. But are these really their colors gray, or they just don't have them in there?
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Here's the thing with High Point: net 82, quad 1 0-0, no matchups. Quad 2 only 1-0 in quad 2. They have absolutely played nobody, but offensive efficiency is number 2 in the nation. So, I mean, look at how many points they're scoring. Like apparently they can. They've got a high level offense, but would that translate to an actual good defense?
I doubt it. I mean, even if Purdue isn't the scariest team, which maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. I just think most likely the level of athletes that they're having. I don't know. So we're getting a vote for 2 votes for Purdue. Yeah, let's just do it and move on. Let's not overthink this. High Point. That would be awesome though. Seeing somebody I've never even heard of go in and win a tourney game. Okay, Illinois, and they're going up against the winner of Texas and Xavier. Now, Texas was a bubble team for a while, but they did enough there late to get in.
That's another one. Texas did pretty well in the SEC tournament. They get to play a playing game before. They kind of depend on a freshman, and that freshman's getting more experience. I think Texas could be a little bit of a dangerous team. I'm not high on Illinois.
Okay, we going with an 11-6. Yeah, I like it. I mean, don't like Texas, but I like that.
You're still anti-Texas?
Yeah. I mean, now they're SEC, so what's there to like? But it would be. I'd rather see Xavier come out of that, but that's all right. Let's see here. Kentucky. We think Mark Pope's got it? Can he win a tournament game?
Tell you what, Kentucky.
Yes, we had to vote for Texas and Xavier. Unfortunately, we're not picking that game, so we'll just pick, the winner of that one to win, and an old foe. Oh, Texas, yeah.
Kentucky is one of those good offenses. My rankings have them at 15 offensive efficiency and then 200 on defense. That's horrific.
That's surprising. Our BYU teams were always known for our good defense under Mark Pope. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jackson Robinson
sarcasm in a while.
So some of their, I don't know how they're. I feel like they've struggled a little bit. I don't know if they had more injuries than just Jackson Robinson, but I feel like they had some. Yeah. I mean, they lost a lot there. I mean, those are good, really good teams, and but they're shorthanded. Ooh, 3 losses to Bama. They beat the rival though, so that's good. So
I mean, look how many points they're giving out. That's
that is a sieve there. What is Troy doing? I mean, they're hardly defensive.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about them beating Troy, but from moving on in the
let's go with Kentucky there. Let's see. He has Xavier in his bracket. I would like that too.
Xavier.
We've got Kentucky there. So, all right. Yeah, Kentucky. Let's move on here. Let's keep this rolling.
Xavier 1-9 in quad 1. That's another team that probably shouldn't be in my opinion.
Well, they've got a lot of, I guess, history in the tournament. UCLA and Utah State. Do we like the Aggies here? I mean, really, the spread is close on this one. I don't know if the Bruins have done a whole lot.
I mean, UCLA, a respectable 8-7 quad 1, top 60 defensive and offensive efficiency. They're a pretty tough team. We picked a lot of Mountain West teams here.
Yeah. That's fine. I could do that. I was just looking at their wins over quad 1, or no, I guess that was a loss. It looked like they had close wins and then bigger losses though. So that doesn't give me a lot of hope for them going deeper, but let's do UCLA. Or did I miss anyone? Oh, we did have a vote for Utah State there.
I was wondering what the got a pro.
Matthew seems like pro. Anybody Big 12 or from the state of Utah.
Or Utah, yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm going with UCLA though. I don't know. Let us know in the comments if we get other Utah State. I'll change it if that's what the sentiment is.
I'm totally impressed with Utah State's sustained success with all the coaching changes. Like, I think what they've done has been amazing. A little bit of a tough matchup, in my opinion, against UCLA. Too bad they don't get to play Kansas. But
I'm thinking, maybe they do really well, and then BYU could poach off maybe their top players to kind of fill out the bench for next year. So,
and that's why Utah State fans hate BYU fans
because of comments like that. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and move Texas in. I'll let people think about that, respond in case. And so let's go back up here to the top here. We had some questions with Gonzaga, and I think Houston's really good.
Yeah, Houston's a juggernaut.
The ones in this year's bracket really are, that good, I think. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is one where I mean, they're neither one of them do I feel super good about.
No, yeah.
Let's get some votes here. So Matthew's saying he's rooting against UCLA there, old Pac-12 foe. So that's kind of his motivation. Oh, you got to take Utah State here. Okay, I'm gonna go change it. All right, we get 2 votes, so let's do it. Go for it. Okay, Clemson, Purdue. What are we saying here? Let's see. It's a toss-up for me. Whoever responds first gets to select this pick.
Purdue's another one of those with a horrible defensive rating. I feel like they were kind of sliding at the end. I don't like their trajectory.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm not that big on Clemson either. So if anybody else has a vote, that one's.
Well, we'll hold off on that one for just a sec. Let's come down to this one. So we know BYU football told us he's already got Xavier going. Did he say Sweet 16? He has them making a little run, and somebody else was trashing Xavier. So let's see here.
Hey, this
Let's
is the
go
beauty.
with,
We get to choose either of those teams to try to beat Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kentucky does have it's deep in terms of talent, right? Whether they're the most cohesive team yet or what, or their style of play is what is capable of making a deep run or not. I do feel like they're susceptible to being upset. I just don't know
Yeah.
enough about those teams. Do we? It's just
I think
hard when you don't really know who it's going to be.
seems like their point guard got injured in the SEC tournament. I don't know how significant that injury is, but
It's not promising. Yeah, they've had a lot of. You said in the SEC tournament. Oh, I didn't hear that, and I feel like he was injured earlier too. Okay, we're staying here on this one. Kentucky again. So go with Kentucky, and that might be where their run ends. It would be. I would have liked to have seen them in the region with BYU. Yeah, with BYU, but
I thought that was a chance because the committee likes to do matchups with
storylines.
storylines. So I was
Yeah,
hoping that would happen too.
that would have been a lot of fun because you could have had them playing in the very next round if they both won.
Well, I'm not complaining. Just to keep BYU in Denver was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be complaining if I was Wisconsin.
All right, we got 2 votes here. We got Xavier losing to Kentucky here. So let's go with Kentucky, Utah State, and Tennessee.
Yeah,
Tennessee's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because weren't they were they what were they where were they ranked at the end of the season? Were they 5 or 6? I feel like
well, they were battling for number 1 for sure.
So let's see. I'm going with Tennessee on this one, unless anyone loves the Aggies so much here. I'm not sure that's the place. And we were just talking about Kentucky. Let's do this one. I would take Tennessee here. Although I think Kentucky won all 3 of those, didn't they? Or won 2 of them? Oh, yeah. They won 2. Those are relatively close together. Close games. This is a different Kentucky team. I don't know.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Although that does make for a little bit of a boring Elite 8 with 3-1-2 matchups.
Well, we don't know. Okay. Nobody voted on this one, so let's go with Clemson. And then I would still take Houston. Neither one of those teams excites me at all. Yeah. I do like Houston in the Elite 8 at least. And we were talking about last year, the poor showing. I wanted to get to this, and we had somebody comment earlier on Houston having them win it all. Last year, I had Houston winning it all, and I thought they were really good. Granted, they had injury to
Shed.
What's that?
Shed.
Yes, to Shed, and that hurt them a lot, and that was too bad. I mean, so that played part of it for Houston. You know, can they stay healthy? I think this team, when they're locked in, and again, I'm biased because I've seen what they've done to BYU, and I think in some ways, like BYU to Kansas, some of it's matchup related, but I don't know.
Houston's offense feels like it's better this year than it was last year. So I feel like Houston. I mean, again, they had the Shed injury, but with the wrong matchup. Like, I think I had them losing pretty early in the Sweet 16 last year. Like, with the wrong matchup, I think they were still going to have some troubles. But this year, if they find an offensive juggernaut, I feel like their offense is good enough to keep up with it. So they seem more locked in this year to me than last year, and they have more weapons and more ways to beat you.
Can we just point out that on these notable results for Houston, BYU is not on here anywhere?
Thank goodness. Yeah, let's keep that out of the spotlight.
But it should be a notable result. Like, I feel like BYU. Granted, these teams are, especially over Kansas. BYU's ranked higher than Kansas and Arizona.
I'm not complaining.
But anyway, it should be a point of pride for them. Hey, we managed to do to BYU. Anyway, these 2 losses against very good SEC teams, close losses early on in the season. You see what they did in the Big 12. I don't know. Do we like Houston here?
I think yeah, a great matchup, but I like Houston there.
What a game. Woof. I mean, I bet it was
Tennessee's
exciting, but
definitely known for their defense.
well, so is Houston. Okay. Although, are you a little bit of a Houston homer?
No,
You have
no.
any just professional teams?
Just professional teams, but no, not at all. My dad was going there when I was born, but
okay. I wasn't sure if that was playing in here. Okay. So now we got an all Big 12. We were really homers in that East region. So
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed a couple here. Yeah. Houston over Tennessee. Oh, if you take Tennessee, that's okay. In the other one, okay. At least BYU went toe to toe with Houston
in the warmups.
In the warm-ups. I mean, there were moments. Like I said, I was watching during intermission, and I saw a stretch with when Kaba Keita was really going at it with Houston. It seemed like there was some momentum coming.
Yeah,
but
they got it to 13. But
I know I felt like one more possession, get one more stop, then you have a chance to get it down, to 10, and it feels like it's reachable. And then I think BYU turned it over or something. And
never in doubt.
Yeah, it had to be at that moment, and they did not seize that moment by any way means. Okay, this Houston team is a lot better than last year's team. Yeah, I feel very good about them. If Tennessee gets upset, Houston will walk to the Final Four. Yeah. Looking at that region, I was not impressed by many. Like a lot of these were like, Yep. No. There's not. Yeah, you're right. If Tennessee loses any step along the way, Houston should easily make it to the Final Four. I completely agree with that, and I think they'll probably make it anyway. What game were you watching?
It's probably the toe-to-toe comment.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you might have. I think he was trolling us a little bit. So, which is fair. He's a. I forgot. You're right. Houston whooped BYU. Oh, okay. He wasn't trolling. Just okay. I thought he was messing with us. Okay. So, all right. Last four here. Let's wrap this up. Or Final four, but last two games. All right. Let's do this. This Big 12 matchup here. I don't think Houston lost to Arizona in that. Oh yeah, they didn't lose to like anybody in the Big 12. So. Except for
Houston.
Actually, why isn't that on here? They lost to Texas Tech.
Those games with Arizona were competitive. This game's in San Antonio. If that means anything, I mean, there aren't a ton of Houston fans anyway, so I don't know if that makes a big difference. But yeah, I've got Houston personally.
Yeah, I feel really good about that Houston team, and I feel less certain that Arizona will be able to make it to the Final Four coming out of a region with Duke. Okay, we got some opinions here. Houston versus Florida. Okay, so that's answering the other side of the question of the bracket. And I have Texas Tech and Houston making the Final Four. I do think I'm with you, BYU football. I do think those are my two favorites out of the Big 12 to make it. Arizona, I'm not as convinced. I think they could, but I feel really good about Houston and Texas Tech. I think both of them. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if at least one of them didn't make it to the Final Four.
I was a little surprised that Arizona beat Texas Tech in the tournament. I would have liked to have seen a Tech and Houston final, but yeah,
we were all surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all dangerous. They are all dangerous.
And that's the nature of the Big 12, conference like the Big 12. Okay. Michigan State and Florida. I think I take Florida in this one.
Yeah.
He has Arizona in the Elite Eight, which, yeah, I think that's fair. That feels more where they belong.
And probably losing to BYU then.
I'm okay with that. All right, so I think Florida, we had one vote for that. Jimmy and I are in agreement there. So anyone else, speak now or forever hold your peace. So we'd have two number ones in the final, which feels like that's the kind of year it is. There could be way more upsets than even we called, but I still think at the end of the day, it'll be some of these top teams there.
It's top heavy.
But what I mean, this would probably be a great game here, theoretically, at least on paper here. Boy, I have to look again at everything Florida's done.
I mean, Florida, again, I like Florida. I think they were super dangerous. They'd lost to Georgia, and that gives me a little bit of pause. Like Houston didn't lose to anybody that they shouldn't have. Like, they didn't lose to any fringe teams.
Yeah.
But late in the year, Florida lost to Georgia, so that might be enough for me to realize that their stinker of a game is probably worse than Houston's stinker of a game.
Houston was locked in here at the end too, so I feel good about it. We're all homers. Let's go. Are we going with Houston? I see a couple here. We see Houston. I have Houston winning it all. Also, yeah, I feel really good about that. Maybe I was a year early with them last year. I feel good about picking Houston this year. And again, I am biased because as a BYU fan, it would be somewhat validating. Like, hey, at least they won it all. It's not so bad.
BYU is a really good basketball team, and Houston just embarrasses them. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, let's submit this, and I will go back and I haven't done it because we've been on this right after. I will create the men's group bracket for everyone to submit and put that in the comments. So look for that, or I'll also post it on Twitter. So if you follow on Twitter, go look for it there and join it and fill out brackets, put them in there, and let's do this for at least bragging rights and see what people have. And I'll go through and fill out another bracket myself, and we'll see what we come up with. But appreciate all the feedback on this. We got a couple more comments. At least a Cougar won it all. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, I can appreciate that. And let's see. BYU is a really good team. That Saunders kid can flat out play. Yeah. Hey, let me know who your college team is. I see your stance on professional basketball, but in terms of college, but yeah, BYU, they're a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite teams in recent history, and hope they can make a deep run here. Let's see. Florida is playing great ball, but so is Houston, and they just grind at you to bare bone and beat you. Yeah, we've seen that. And Houston's one that I've tried to catch. I try to catch a fair amount of at least parts of a lot of Big 12 games, and I would turn on Houston, and yeah, I mean, they just the way they play, they're just so physical.
Houston's still another one with I'm interested in what he thinks about St. John's, but Houston has another injury to their main big guy, Roberts, I think, where their success might depend on that ankle. I mean, it seems like a bunch of these teams need good health, and they just started to hobble at the end. So it could be interesting there.
We will see. But it says he's a St. John's fan, and he says, but they're fakers this year. So we'll see, because they're getting a lot of high praise. But again, sometimes when you have that big coach name in there, it can kind of give you a lot of street cred.
Sometimes that and you win the close games. I mean,
yeah,
if any game is close, then I'll take Pitino and Izzo and those kind of coaches any day.
Big 12 over SEC. I love it. And let's see, the Big East isn't what it used to be. No, I mean, it comes and goes. It fluctuates. It is kind of sad. I mean, you think back to, nothing's what it used to be anymore between realignment and everything. Everything's always changing. And yeah, Big East basketball used to be kind of the pinnacle of it. I do love that they're still considered a P5 though, when it comes to basketball. Mm-hmm. Says he's fine. Would have heard from a solid source. Oh, Roberts. Okay. I'll take your word on it. So, yeah. So, like I said, I'll get that group. I'd love for you guys to join it. That's what's fun, is just to compare brackets and everything. I might even put some other ones, some celebrity ones or other things in there, just to compare against and compete against. But so do join that. And let's see, I'm getting the last few comments here. My Utes women's made it to the tournament. Well, that's good. Congratulations. That's I honestly did not follow women's basketball very much. Perhaps if BYU had been a little better, I would have. But anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Jimmy, thanks for coming on. You're right.
Hey, it was fun.
Catch up
Good
more
to see you,
often. All right. Check you later. Go Cougs.
All right, take care.